For many, many years, Jack Nicholson had this scary, devilish smile. He was the wild rebel who changed everything about Hollywood. He shook things up and made movies different. But when the cameras turned off and filming stopped, he held on to grudges that were even darker and scarier than the characters he played in movies. Now, at 88 years old, he finally decided to speak up and tell his story. Behind all his success and fame, there are 6 names that stand out. Some of these people were his heroes, the ones he looked up to. Some were his friends, people he trusted. But each one of them, according to Nicholson, crossed a line. They went from being people he respected to people he absolutely hated. And now we're going to tell you about these famous legends that he couldn't stand and exactly why he would never, ever forgive them. Number 1. Marlon Brando, the hero. Who became Jack's biggest letdown? Jack Nicholson never thought that his biggest disappointment in life would come from the one man he admired most in the whole world. Marlon Brando. Brando was supposed to be the hero, the absolute genius who gave hope and inspiration to an entire generation of actors, including Jack himself. But when they finally got to work together on a movie called The Missouri Breaks in 1976, something terrible happened. Nicholson's admiration and respect completely turned into feelings of betrayal and hurt. Nicholson showed up to the movie set every single day ready to work hard. He was disciplined, focused, and super hungry to act alongside his hero. He wanted to learn from Brando and create something amazing together. But Brando, he showed up to set looking overweight and out of shape. Even worse, he seemed detached, like he didn't care at all. He acted completely uninterested in the whole project. Here's the really shocking part. Brando refused to memorize his lines like a professional actor should. Instead, he stuck cards with his lines written on them everywhere you could imagine. He taped them on lamps around the set. He put them on furniture and props. He even stuck them on the foreheads of the crew members who were working on the film. Can you believe that? What should have been an amazing learning experience, like a masterclass in great acting, turned into complete chaos and confusion. Nicholson was so angry later on that he said, "Being a genius doesn't give you an excuse to be lazy. A lazy genius is really just a fancy word for a fake or a fraud." But the betrayal didn't stop there. Things got even weirder and worse. Brando started using bizarre, strange accents for no reason at all. He would suddenly slip into Irish accents without any warning, even though his character wasn't Irish. He insisted on wearing eccentric, weird costumes that made no sense, things like bonnets and dresses that left the entire crew completely baffled and confused. To Nicholson, this wasn't creative brilliance or artistic genius. This was sabotage. Brando was purposely ruining the movie. Every single day on set felt like Brando was playing some kind of game for his own amusement and entertainment, while everyone else had to carry the heavy weight of trying to make a good film. The tension on the movie set was absolutely suffocating. It was hard to breathe with all the stress. Nicholson had hoped for real collaboration, working together as a team. Instead, now he found himself fighting hard just to salvage and save his own performance in the middle of what felt like Brando's crazy circus. The film ended up being a flop. It failed at the box office, and critics didn't like it. And with that failure, their relationship completely fell apart and disintegrated. Nicholson never forgave Brando for what happened. He continued to love and revere Brando's early work, from when he was younger and more dedicated, but he made a serious promise to himself. He swore he would never act with Brando again. Not ever. For Jack, the lesson he learned was absolutely devastating and heartbreaking. Sometimes the gods you worship, the people you look up to the most, are exactly the ones who end up shattering and breaking your faith into a million pieces. Number 2. Shelley Duvall, the co-star, who pushed Jack to the edge on the set of the horror movie The Shining in 1980, Jack Nicholson's anger and fury wasn't aimed at the director, Stanley Kubrick. No, instead, it was directed at the woman who was playing his wife in the film, Shelley Duvall. He really needed stability and consistency from his acting partner. He needed someone who could match his intensity and energy. Instead, what he found was unpredictability. Someone so all over the place that it nearly broke him and destroyed his spirit. Director Kubrick was famous for making actors do endless retakes, filming the same scene over and over and over again. This pushed everyone on set to their absolute limit. But Shelley's fragile emotional process turned the entire set into complete chaos and madness. One moment, she would give Nicholson raw, brilliant acting that was absolutely perfect. Then, the very next moment, she would be so emotionally shattered and broken that her performance felt disconnected and all over the place, like she wasn't even in the same movie. Jack later opened up and confessed, "As an actor, you really need a dance partner, someone who moves with you." But with Shelley, it felt like she was hearing a completely different song than the one I was hearing. We weren't in sync at all. What started as sympathy and understanding for her situation quickly turned sour and bitter. Nicholson's craft and skill as an actor depended on rhythm, timing, and precision. But Shelley's emotional storms left him fighting alone, like a soldier without backup. Scenes that were meant to be collaborative, where they worked together, became draining battles that sucked all his energy. He admitted years later that her instability made an already impossible job even harder than it needed to be. Decades later, though, Jack softened his judgment of her. With the benefit of hindsight and time to reflect, he recognized and understood that Kubrick's cruelty had pushed Shelley into an emotional collapse. He said, "What Stanley put her through was unconscionable. It was wrong and inexcusable." Still, even with that understanding, the memory of those difficult days never left him. It haunted him. The movie became an absolute classic that people still watch today, but it was built on the wreckage of trust between its two main leads. Their relationship was destroyed in the process of making that film. Number 3. Tom Cruise. The superstar Jack called empty. Inside, when Jack Nicholson went head-to-head with Tom Cruise in the courtroom drama A Few Good Men in 1992, the result looked explosive and exciting on screen. Their courtroom battle gave the entire world one of the most unforgettable lines in movie history. "You can't handle the truth." For the audience watching in theaters, it was absolutely iconic, a moment they'd never forget. But for Nicholson acting in that scene, it was exhausting and draining. Nicholson had built his entire career on taking risks. He absolutely thrived on those moments when a scene could break apart and fall to pieces at any second, forcing raw, real reactions from everyone involved. That danger and unpredictability was what made acting exciting for him. What he found when acting opposite Cruise was the exact opposite of everything he loved. Every smile Tom gave seemed rehearsed, like he practiced it in the mirror. Every movement was precise and calculated. Every single line was delivered with careful, controlled perfection. The unpredictability and danger that Jack craved simply wasn't there at all. He later said something really harsh. He sneered and said, "You look in his eyes, and you can see the machinery working inside his head. It's absolutely perfect and polished, but it's also empty. There's nothing real there." That judgment cut deep and was incredibly harsh. Nicholson believed that Cruise approached the craft of acting as just an exercise in image management, making himself look good, rather than searching for truth and real human emotion. The performance looked absolutely flawless and perfect from the outside, but for Nicholson, it lacked danger. It was missing that spark, that special something that made acting worth doing in the first place. Even their most famous exchange together, that intense shouting match in the courtroom that everyone remembers, left him feeling cold and unsatisfied. Nicholson admitted that he hurled and threw every single ounce of fire and passion he had at Cruise, really hoping to crack through that polished surface. He wanted to break through and get something real, but what he got back felt like lines that were drilled and practiced in front of a mirror, polished over and over again until no spontaneity or surprise remained. Nothing felt natural or in the moment. He compared it to an interesting metaphor. He said it was like listening to a studio recording that's been edited to perfection, when what he really wanted was the sweat, chaos, and raw energy of a live concert, where anything can happen. After production wrapped up and filming ended, Nicholson was completely blunt and honest with his colleagues and friends. He said he respected Cruise's discipline and work ethic. That was undeniable. But he would never step on a movie set with him again. Not ever. Their philosophies about acting were worlds apart, like they lived on different planets. One actor chased perfection and control, while the other chased danger and unpredictability. And that clash left Nicholson totally convinced they could never truly connect or understand each other as artists. Number 4. Faye Dunaway, the actress who crushed Jack's dream, The Two. Film that was supposed to define and highlight Jack Nicholson's career as a movie director was completely destroyed by one woman, Faye Dunaway. Their reunion on the film The Two Jakes didn't feel like nostalgia or a happy trip down memory lane. It felt like combat, like going to war. From day one, from the very first moment of filming, the set turned into an actual battlefield. And Nicholson, who was usually calm and in control of everything, found himself at war with his leading lady, the star of his film. What had been legendary chemistry between them in the classic film Chinatown years earlier became pure hostility and hatred. The magic was completely gone. She showed up late to set constantly, argued over every single line in the script, and challenged every decision he made as a director. Nicholson was already carrying the enormous weight of directing the film, writing the screenplay, and starring in it all at the same time. That's 3 massive jobs at once. Finally, under all that pressure, he snapped and exploded. He said in frustration, "This isn't collaboration where we work together. This is sabotage. She's purposely trying to ruin everything." That single word, sabotage, summed up and captured all of his rage and anger. The trust between them was completely gone. The respect had vanished into thin air, and the dream of making a triumphant sequel, a great follow-up to their earlier success, collapsed and fell apart. What should have been Nicholson's greatest victory and proudest achievement ended up as the project that scarred him so deeply, so painfully, that he never directed another movie again. He walked away from directing forever because of this experience. Number 5. Sean Penn, the director who suffocated. Jack Nicholson hated nothing more in the world than being told exactly how to act, being controlled like a puppet. And that's exactly what Sean Penn did to him. On the set of the mystery thriller The Pledge in 2001, Nicholson wasn't collaborating with a director as an equal partner. He was following orders that he absolutely despised. Penn was completely obsessed with gritty realism, making everything feel dark and real. He wanted every pause in dialogue, every glance with the eyes, every tone of voice delivered exactly his way. There was no room for improvisation or creativity. Nicholson later complained and vented his frustration, saying, "What's the point of hiring Jack Nicholson if you just want a puppet you can control? Why hire me at all?" That single line exposed and revealed the fury that was boiling under the surface. For decades, years and years, Nicholson had built his entire craft on instinct and spontaneity. He loved the thrill of discovery in front of the camera, finding new things in the moment. But with Penn directing, there was absolutely no room for any of that freedom. Every scene felt locked in a cage, trapped. Every choice he tried to make was suffocated and shut down immediately. Nicholson compared the experience to something really specific. He said it was like running a marathon with your feet tied together. That metaphor made it crystal clear just how tortured and painful the experience became for him. He felt completely restricted and unable to do what he does best. Yes, the film earned praise from critics, and some people loved it. But Nicholson never forgave the process of making it. He walked away from that production feeling drained of all his energy and robbed of the danger and excitement that made acting worth it for him in the first place. After The Pledge was finished, the two men never worked together again. Not once. That's proof that for Nicholson, Penn's brilliance and talent as a director could never outweigh or make up for the suffocation he inflicted during filming. Number 6. Leonardo DiCaprio, the star Jack said, was too safe on the crime thriller The Departed in 2006. Jack Nicholson and Leonardo DiCaprio created some of the most explosive and intense moments in Martin Scorsese's crime masterpiece. The film was absolutely incredible. Nicholson's character, Frank Costello, was pure chaos, unpredictable and dangerous. DiCaprio's character, Billy Costigan, was tightly wound tension, like a coiled spring about to snap. To audiences watching in theaters, their clash looked like absolute magic on screen. But behind the scenes, away from the cameras, Nicholson dismissed and looked down on his younger co-star as being too safe, not willing to take risks. Nicholson thrived on danger and unpredictability. He wanted and craved the possibility that anything could happen once the camera started rolling. That excitement kept him alive as an actor. DiCaprio, by contrast, prepared every single detail of his performance ahead of time. He worked out his character's backstory, his gestures and movements, even the smallest facial tics and expressions. Everything was planned. Jack complained to others, saying, "He's done his homework, sure. He's prepared, but there's no danger in his work. You can see every brick in the wall. It's also planned out and predictable." That fundamental difference between them came to a dramatic head in one famous moment that people still talk about. During a tense exchange between their characters, Nicholson shocked and surprised everyone on set by pulling out a real gun without any warning. No one knew he was going to do it. Director Scorsese kept the cameras filming and rolling, and the fear you see on DiCaprio's face in that moment was absolutely real. He was genuinely scared and surprised. For Nicholson, that moment was what acting was all about, forcing raw truth and real reactions. For Leo, it was reckless and dangerous, a breach of trust between actors. You're not supposed to actually scare your scene partner with a real weapon. A generational conflict made the gap between them even wider. Nicholson had studied acting under the famous teacher Sanford Meisner, who taught him to believe in living truthfully in the moment. That was his entire philosophy. DiCaprio belonged to a new, modern Hollywood that was shaped by precision, preparation, and discipline. He was trained differently. Both methods and approaches worked and created great performances, but they were like oil and water on set. They just didn't mix. Nicholson respected DiCaprio's craft and acknowledged his talent. That was undeniable, but he never connected with his soul or felt that deeper artistic bond. After filming ended and wrapped up, he told his friends privately, "The kid's great at what he does. He's talented, but he's too safe for my blood. I need more danger and excitement." Their relationship remained distant and cool. DiCaprio, who is always professional and classy, praised Nicholson publicly in interviews. But Jack's judgment and opinion never softened or changed. He stuck to his guns. In the end, The Departed won the Academy Award for Best Picture. It was a huge triumph and success. Yet for Nicholson, it carried a bitter aftertaste. The movie proved to him that even in triumph and victory, having the wrong partner could make the entire process feel hollow and empty inside. 6 names, 6 battles, and one undeniable truth that runs through all of them. Jack Nicholson never forgot the people who broke his code, who violated his principles about what acting should be. From idols who let him down and disappointed him, to co-stars who drained the life and energy out of a scene, each clash and conflict left scars. These scars shaped his view of Hollywood forever and changed how he saw the entire industry. What do you think about all of this? Was Nicholson being brutally honest and telling the truth that needed to be told? Or was he too harsh and unfair on legends like Brando, Cruise, and DiCaprio? Tell us what you think in the comments below. We really want to hear your opinion. And if you want more untold stories from Hollywood's darkest corners, the secrets that nobody talks about, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and tap the bell icon so you never miss what's coming next. There's so much more to discover.